So now we are starting with this playlist of interview preparation, and the first topic that we will be covering is arrays and strings. So before moving on to arrays and strings, we must know a very important container from the standard template library of C++ called vectors. So we have been using arrays. So what are arrays? Let me create an array of size 3. So how many elements can we insert into this array? So the maximum number of elements that we can insert into this array is 3. So what if in future we want to add more elements to this array? We won't be able to do that. So the only option that I am left with is to create the new array, array 2, maybe of size 10, and then copy all the elements from the first array to this second array and insert new elements into whatever places are left. So out of these 10 places, 3 places are going to be used by the content of the previous array, and the rest of the places are going to be empty. We can insert anything that we want. Now let us say in future, if we want to store more number of elements, more than 10, so that in that case I will have to create another array, array 3, that will be of size 15, and I will be copying all the stuff of this array into this new array, array 3, and then 5 places will be left. We will insert whatever we want into these 5 places. Alright, so you must be thinking that why don't we create an array of a very huge size? That will save a lot of hard work that we are doing to create new arrays and then copying content of the previous array to the new array. But in that case, the problem is, if we create an array of, let us say, 5000 size, and in our entire program we only end up using 500 out of those 5000 spaces, so rest of the 4500 spaces are going to be waste. It is simply occupying the memory and we are not using it. So if you are creating an array of a small size, you will have to create more arrays and copy the content of the previous one to the new array in case you want extra space. And other problem is, if you are creating an array of big size, it might be possible that you end up never utilizing that much space. So what is the solution? The solution is to use vectors. So what are vectors? Vectors are basically an implementation of array. So if you want more information about vectors, you can always go to this website called c++.com. On this website you will find information not only about vectors but whatever containers we are using from the STLs, whatever algorithms we are using from the STL, and everything. So you can read this paragraph, you can read this, and after that there are few functions. So I'm going to discuss the most important functions right now. Rest of the functions you can either read them after some experience in coding, or maybe you can read them now if you want. So let us start discussing the most important functions of vector. So instead of creating an array, now we will be using vector. Okay, so vector of int. As we were creating an array of int, we were creating an array of char, we were creating an array of bool type, so we can create a vector of all those types as well. So now we are creating a vector of int. That means an equivalent container to array of ints. Let me name this as v. Okay, so now the size of this vector is 0. Now the size of this vector is 0. So let me just show you v.size. We can use this size function. Now remember, this is the first function that we are using, the size. It is going to return the size of the vector. So let me just print it for you. Okay, so before using vectors, we should include these vectors into our program. Hash include vector. So now it should work. It is giving me 0 as the size. Now how to insert elements into this vector? So to insert elements into this vector, I will be using a function called pushback. v.pushback the element 6. So I am pushing back 6 into my vector. Now the size of the vector should be 1. So it is giving me 1. I should have add an endl over here. So it is clear that the size is 1 now. So let me insert few more elements in similar way. Pushback 5, v dot pushback 8. So now I can print the entire content of the vector. For I is equal to 0, I smaller than v dot size I plus plus. I hope you understand this one. So basically we are keeping I starting from 0, I smaller than v dot size. So what is going to be v dot size? It is going to be 3 in this case. This for loop is same as the one which we have used in arrays. So now we can print it out. V of I. Let me just print it. Let me also add an endl over here. So now we can see the content of our array, or the content of our vector is 6, 5 and 8. 6, 5 and 8. Now how to delete elements from this array? So we can delete element from the back of this array or from the back of this vector by simply using v dot pop back. That's it. So we don't have to pass anything because we are simply popping out the last element. So it will pop out 8. 8 is at the end, it will pop out 8. Now if we want to print everything inside the vector, we can print it over here. And let me also add an endl. So it should print 6 and 5. Okay. So we have covered these two things. Now if you want to know the vector is empty or not, the first way we can do is by using v dot size. If v dot size is 0, that means the vector is empty. The other thing is we can use the function empty. So v dot empty is going to return a boolean value. If it returns 1, it means the vector is empty. If it returns 0, that means the vector is not empty. So the next function that we have is v dot back. This is going to return me the last element, or the element that is at the back. So if I print this one, I should get 5, because now 5 is at the end. Okay, so we got 5 here. Now let us say we want to have a vector with some fixed size in the initial stages. So let us say we want to create a vector of size 40 and then initialize the entire vector with a value 4. So we will have a vector with the size 40 and every value inside this vector will be 4. If we don't pass the second argument, every value inside the vector is going to be 0. So let us say if we pass 4 here, so every value inside the vector is going to be 4. So let me just show this. So for auto A belongs to V, cout A. Now I also wanted to demonstrate what this auto is. So basically this auto picks up the type of the element by itself. So if we do auto A belongs to V, it will automatically know that the type of A should be int. So we can run a for loop this way as well. So this will give me each element of V one by one. So here we have this 40 times A. Now even after this we can change the size. So we can do p v dot pushback 5. Now if I try to print this, it will return me 40 times 4 and 1 times 5. So we can push back one element even if we initialize the vector with some size and some value. So I think this is enough. Now you have basic idea of what these vectors are. Now slowly when we will be proceeding with the playlist, you will know some more functions. You will know the sort function that we can use on this. You will know other STL functions, other STL algorithms that we can apply on vectors, and we will try to learn things slowly. So now you have some idea of what vectors are. Also you can refer to this website. I will provide the link in the description. And if you want some more detail about vectors, I have created another video. I will provide the link in the description as well. One of the most important thing is to always look at the description. So I will be providing link of all the contents in the description. So make sure to check this. I hope this video was useful to you. Now we are good enough to proceed with the next video.